Buddy, they put up Riot put up a new B patch for patch 10.22. When they released this patch, there was a unintentional buff that shipped with it that buffed Morgana from 250 at 400 damage on her ultimate to 325 and 525. In my last video, I noted that Morgana was kind of buffed to the heavens in that patch with some of the changes that they had made to her ult targeting and with the Dazzler buffs. Well, on top of that, they also shipped a damage buff to her ult unintentionally. So, B patch that they just dropped today. This video will be posted up on Saturday. The B patch was posted up today, which is Friday. So, that's going to be fixed, thankfully. But along with that, they also shipped a handful of other changes in the B patch. So Chalice of Harmony is spell power bonus is going from 40 to 35. That matches what they did to Zeke's. Zeke's also went from 40 to 35 on 1022. For some reason, they didn't do the same thing to Chalice, even though I think it was pretty arguable that Chalice was even better than Zeke's, and they nerfed Zeke's. This just makes sense. 35 is probably a good spot for both Zeke's and Chalice. So this is a good change. 30 was too low, 40 was too high. We'll try 35 and see if it works. Lastly, these two changes. So this has kind of been one of my personal bugaboos about set 4 for a while now. Jeweled Gauntlet has been performing far, far higher than I feel like it should. To the point that people are just stacking two jeweled gauntlets, and it's like, this is great. This is infinitely better than making a death cap. And that probably should not be true. Death cap should 100% always be better than jeweled gauntlet. This is a personal opinion from me. Why? Because death cap is harder to make than jeweled gauntlet. It takes 2 rods to make a death cap. It takes a rod and gloves to make a jeweled gauntlet. It is easier to get rod and gloves than it is to get 2 rods. Plus, by having 2 rods and combining those items, you decrease the flexibility of the items that you can make. Having 2 rods and then using one of those rods with another item gives you higher flexibility than combining both the rods and whatever items you had left. It's just death cap needed to be better. Secondly, Jewel Gauntlet was just causing things to just one-shot too much. Particularly on Ahri, that was kind of everyone's complaint, that you put a Jewel Gauntlet on Ahri and she just one-shots an entire board. Kind of one of the problems with Ahri, it's the same thing that the issue that GP had, is like, if GP and Ahri aren't one-shotting things, they're not worthwhile to play. And while that might be true, it's also not fun to play against something that wipes your entire board and has very small amounts of counterplay. There is counterplay to Ahri, just like there was counterplay to GP. It's just that it's very limited lines. If you get into the top 4 and nobody has any of those lines to beat you, congrats, you win the game. So the Jewel Gauntlet crit damage is getting nerfed from 50% to 40%, and Death Cap actually also, scroll down, Death Cap was one of the items I believe they buffed in this patch. Yes, so Death Cap went from 70 to 75 on 1022, and on the B patch they're bringing it up to 80. Somebody posted up the maths to figure out what the optimal build for magic items is. What combination of items gets you the most damage. If I'm recalling the order correctly, the order has changed quite a bit now because of these 2 changes. It is now Jeweled Gauntlet plus Death Cap is the optimal amount of damage you can get. Then it is double Death Cap. Then it is Jeweled Gauntlet and IE. And then it is double Jeweled Gauntlet. That's a much better combination for me, in my opinion. I think having Jewel Gauntlet plus IE being better than double Jewel Gauntlet is probably a better way to play the game. Having Death Cap be generally better than Jewel Gauntlet is a better way to play the game. So I'm very, very, very happy with these changes. I do worry that I'm not quite sure what this means for the Vanguard Mystic build, how, if that's still a build and how you want to build onto it. I'm assuming that you now just want to build Death Caps rather than Jewel Gauntlet, but if you already have a Death Cap, then you just throw on a Jewel Gauntlet too. I would think Jeweled Gauntlet plus IE is another optimal way to go. Double Death Cap is pretty rare. If you get double Death Cap, that's pretty crazy to me, because that's 4 Raj you found. I don't think I'd ever run a build that ran double Death Caps. That's kind of excessive. But anyway, those are the changes that were made. Probably the fastest B patch we've gotten in a while, but I'm glad they did it. This Morgana change needed to be fixed, and I think in general this patch will be good until we get to 10.23, and I'm not expecting a lot of changes in 10.23. But before I close out, there was more posted. The PBE coming out next is going to significantly change our leveling strategies for TFT. The PBE, so in general, pretty much all your compositions, you get to 4-1, level to 7, and roll down. That's generally just how you kind of play TFT right now. That's a little too consistent. That's not a lot of variety on how people play. It's not a decision if you just get to 4-1 and just roll down every time. Get to 7 and roll down. So there are going to be some changes made to champions that are going to be dished out in the shop. Most notably, it looks like this isn't going to come in 10.23, but it's going to come in 10.24. There's going to be significantly less 4 costs in the game. Significantly. You're going to have to get to level 8 to start finding a lot of those 4 costs. You'll find them at level 7, but you're going to have to get to level 8 if you really want that 2-star 4 cost. That's going to really throw a wrench into this game. I have no idea what the game is going to look like then, if they're going to make it that difficult to find 4 cost. And same thing with Chosen's. Chosen's, it makes more sense for them to be even more rare, because that's a free 2-star 4 cost and just completely flips the game upside down. But we'll get more into that as we get more data from that PBE and what exactly those changes are going to be. And that's not going to be until patch 10.24, so that's like not for another 3 weeks. So we'll talk about that later. Anyway, enjoy this B patch. I think it's a good patch, and it should make the game a lot better. Peace.